Hello everyone, welcome to FedScoop TV. I'm your host, Greg Otto. Welcome to our Public Sector Innovation Priority Series, and I'm talking with Dom Delfino, the VP of Worldwide Sales and Systems Engineering for VMware. Dom, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Greg.
So talk to me a little bit about the challenges you are seeing and addressing when it comes to mobility and making sure that agility doesn't compromise security.
Yes, I think it's a great question. I think there's sort of now this consumer view on IT, right? I want everything to be as simple as it is for me on my tablet or mobile device as it is for me at home when I go to work. And I think there's definitely a productivity enhancement for companies to do that, but it can't come at the risk of security vulnerabilities, penetration, et cetera. So I think there's a very good set of tools and technology and processes in place where I can ensure that my mobile users have access to everything they need to do, and that same access criteria, those security policies, the identity and access management follows them, whether they're mobile, coming in from the outside, whether they're mobile on Wi-Fi inside my network, or whether they transition to their desktop as well. So I think now we're sort of at the point now where this is really starting to mature. Obviously, VMware has an offering here with our mobile device manager, Horizon Air, and we leverage it extensively ourselves. I travel, probably 48 weeks out of the year, and I'm on the road constantly on my mobile device. And the technology is now matured to a point where this is not something that's bleeding edge or even leading edge anymore. It's now mainstream, and you really can deliver, to your mobile users a very secure policy from their device all the way through the network back into the data center and the applications and the data that they access as well, right? So we see pretty wide-scale adoption of that from our customer base, both in the government sector as well as in the private sector.
So let's talk about the government sector. Obviously, security is a big thing for them with all the compliance that they have to meet. How do you teach government agencies to adopt new technologies, but have it at a level where it's still secure in order to meet the compliance that they have to meet, but still good enough performance-wise that employees can get what they need to do in order to complete the missions that they have?
Yeah, and I think this has been the biggest challenge for not only government agencies, but everybody in the private sector as well, is how do I increase my level of security without it becoming an operational deficiency? Right? So I want to be more secure, but I want more speed and agility at the same time. And I think that's been the challenge up until now. More security created more operational complexity and more sophistication to the point where it became unmanageable. Therefore, I got less security, right? So, and I think that what we see now with new technologies in the market, certainly, maybe I'm a little bit biased here, but one that we introduced with our NSX platform and our network virtualization and microsegmentation strategy gives you both, right? And I think we're seeing that trend increase around regulatory compliance, right? You saw PCI and HIPAA have been around a while. You see the executive order that came out in the United States. We have GDPR coming up in Europe. We've had internet separation regulation in Japan, and now it's spreading into Singapore as well. So you see some regulatory inertia moving into both public sector and the private sector. But I think what you've also seen is technologies now being invented, not evolved. It's not us taking old technology, which has been the biggest obstacles. We've taken old technology and we've created workaround after workaround after workaround to deal with modern things like mobile and bring your own device and compute virtualization and the cloud, where we really needed something new that could give us that security at the same time, but with the operational simplicity to implement my InfoSec policies.
Okay. So on the public sector side, server huggers, if you will, enterprises that like to stay, in that old legacy data center model, still a thing that's going on. What do you advise CIOs who are trying to update their legacy systems, and move toward a more modern technology platform?
Yeah, and I think, although we've called out the server huggers, I think within infrastructure, there's enough blame to go around here, right? And I think part of the problem, the root of the problem, is we've treated infrastructure as these different silos, right? Servers, networking, storage, security, et cetera. And when you talk to application developers and application owners, they don't distinguish it that way. It's infrastructure, right? And every part of the infrastructure is equally important and equally critical. And if one part of the infrastructure goes down, it's all down, right? The applications above it and the business dependence on that is down as well. So I think what I would advise CIOs is, the people transformation component of this is the most important and tends to be where you see the most resistance, right? Technology is binary. We can prove it works or it doesn't work, right? It's effective or it's not effective. For people, we need to start thinking more across those silos, right? And we need to stop being server people or networking people, security people or storage people. We need to be infrastructure people, right? Because infrastructure is effectively an entity of one, and we need to treat it that way. And there's a big opportunity for people who sit inside infrastructure here to sort of propel their skill sets forward by having deeper knowledge around the adjacent parts of infrastructure, right? So how do I implement security, but how do I implement it in the network and in the server and in the storage, right? What's my strategy, security strategy for infrastructure, not just for firewalls or VPN or intrusion detection or antivirus technologies. It's an opportunity for all of us to still keep a deep domain expertise in our area of infrastructure, but also build our knowledge of how that impacts the adjacent areas of infrastructure as well. So, and I think that's part of the transition that we're seeing, start and build right now, right? Not quite where we'd like it to be, but it's starting to build. The momentum is starting to build as people have fundamentally struck out when it comes to some of the challenges they're facing. They're starting to think about, how do I reinvent myself to address these problems? And it's quite frankly good for their careers.
Great. Dom, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate your insight.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, Greg.
For all of our videos, check out our YouTube channel, and for more information, check out fedscoop.com. I'm Greg Otto. Thanks for watching.